Hi, this is Ms. Cassidy. This is your presentation on vocabulary for cultural identity and ethnic hash. Please remember that as you're listening, you are recording on your Cornell Notes the word, the part of speech, the definition, and an example, whether it's one I give you or you create it. Feel free to pause at any point if I'm going too fast, and also remember you can use closed captioning and you can see the words on your screen. So our first word is context. It's a noun, and it's defined as the circumstances of a situation or environment, what's going on around you. It helps us understand what's happening or why. Many times we use the word context as students using the context of a sentence to identify the meaning of an unfamiliar word. That might be familiar for you for the word context. For example, superfluous in the sentence, this behavior helps them manage their food bill and avoid superfluous purchases. So superfluous would mean unnecessary purchases. Our second word is distinctly. It's an adverb, and it's defined as in a way that is easily or clearly heard, seen, or felt. Something that is very obvious, distinct from others around it. An example sentence is through the dark woods, he distinctly saw a person dressed in white walk past him. So that dichotomy of dark, black, and white. These pair of Chucks are distinct from the rest of the white shoes around them. Our third word is dynamic. It's an adjective. Dynamic is defined as something that's characterized by constant change, activity, or progress. Something that's dynamic is the opposite of being the same forever. So example sentence is that as a yoga instructor, he is dynamic because he always asks participants if there's anything they specifically need to stretch. Then he incorporates it into his instruction. So constantly changing his yoga practice so that people in his class can stretch what they want to stretch. Dynamic. The next word is pronounced faux, and I encourage you to say that with me. Faux. It is an adjective, and it means artificial, false, not genuine. She bought a string of faux pearls to wear because she couldn't afford the real pearls. Faux, meaning fake. It's French. Next word is implicate. This is a verb, and it means to involve in an incriminating way, to incriminate, similar to implicate. The dirty footprints leading away from the spill in the kitchen implicated the cats as the ones who knocked over the container of flour. So by seeing their little footprints walking away, it implicates that the cats were guilty of spilling the flour. Next word is interactions. Interactions uses the root word inter, meaning between items. We're going to see this in the next word as well. Inter, meaning between. So interactions are mutual actions or influence, actions that happen between people or items. For the example sentence is the teacher and student had many interactions throughout the school year as they discussed multiple themes present in literature and life. So these discussions happen between, interactions between teachers and students. Inter, meaning between, also applies to the word interlocutor. Interlocutor. So someone who participates in a dialogue or conversation. So locution, to talk. So interlocutor, interlocution. She was accused of being an aggressive interlocutor because she made people talk to her. So talking between people, interlocutor. Again, inter meaning between. There's our aggressive interlocutor. Phenomenon is a noun, a fact or event which can be observed and or documented. For example, the change in seasons is a natural phenomenon or phenomena. Many Greek and Roman stories have mythology related to natural phenomena. Why the sky goes dark, why there are stars, why the stars rotate, why there's volcanic explosions, what the lightning bolts are, right, from Zeus. So they had cultural mythology to explain the phenomena around them. Not just Romans and Greeks, many indigenous cultures have cultural stories related to phenomena. Natural phenomenon. Next word is pluralism. The presence and engaged coexistence of numerous distinct groups in one society. So many different groups existing at the same time as pluralism. You may recognize plural from meaning more than one. When we talk about make the word cat plural, it is cats. So more than one. So pluralism is in the noun state of that there many items exist at once. The government of the United States supports pluralism with our many political groups: Republican, Democrat, Independent, Tea Party, Green Party, etc. There are quite a few more. So pluralism, that many items exist at once. Next word is predetermined, and this word uses the prefix pre, meaning before. You hopefully have heard this before, that the prefix pre means before. So something that is predetermined is to establish, decide, or establish in advance. Something that happens before. And this word is an adjective. So you may remember that when you walked into class on the first day, I had predetermined where students were going to sit so I could learn their names most effectively. Predetermined, to decide in advance. Pre also relates to the word prescient. Pre meaning before, to have foreknowledge of events. Some prescient gamblers knew who to bet on in the 1919 World Series when the White Sox intentionally lost to the Cincinnati Reds. Ooh, there's a typo. Red should be capitalized. 8 players were banned for life from the Major League Baseball. So prescient, to mean before, to have knowledge of before. So it's a real thing. Fix in the World Series. Pre also relates to the word presumably. Presumably is an adverb, meaning probably or reasonably supposed. Presume, similar to the word assume, but presume would be before, because it has a prefix pre. Because the door was open when the family arrived home, presumably they believed they had been robbed. They couldn't believe it when they saw Grandma and Grandpa in the house instead. They had presumed they'd been robbed, but Grandma and Grandpa just forgot to shut the door. Presumably. Next word is pry, and it's a verb, to intrude into, to force open. And there's a couple different meanings for this pry. One example is she had to pry open the soda pop can with a fork because the tab was broken. So physically to pry in. But sometimes pry can have a different type of meaning, not necessarily forcing with your hands or an instrument. The second example, he didn't mean to pry, but he had to find out why his friend was suddenly switching schools. So that idea of asking questions and intruding into a situation that maybe doesn't apply to you. So pry can be physical as well as not so physical. To pry, to force into. Next word is quandary. This is a pretty fun word, quandary, a noun, a state of perplexity or doubt. My 2-year-old nephew will be in a quandary when he meets his newborn sibling. Quandary, to be absolutely confused, in awe, confusion, doubting, perplexity. That's a great word for kind of confusion. Quandary. Quandary, all over her face. Society is a noun, and it means people who interact in a defined territory and share a culture, a society. For there to be order in society, we all have to follow the same rules and laws. Other words for this same root are social, socialism, socialist. So social media, people who use the same type of media, people who interact in the same way. Sharing that social media culture is this type of society.